Hey, what's up guys? Houston here. Let's talk about Capital One. Which Capital One credit card should you be going for depending on your credit? So let's start with this here secured card. The Platinum Secured credit card by Capital One is for rebuilding. Alright, so you can start with $49, $99, or $200. Alright, and it's refundable. Now, here's a few key things about this. Like I said, you can do, as you can see here, you can do a soft pull on this. But this is the one, like if you like really bad with your credit score, I'm talking about below a 580 credit score, then this is the card you want to start with. If you're just really starting out or something like that, this is an okay card as well. That being said, you have to keep in mind with Capital One, they have this tendency to pull all three credit bureaus, all right? And for some reason, most people are not aware of that you can actually lock one or two of your credit bureaus and it'll force them to only pull from one, okay? So that's something that you should know. Now, looking at another card, going up the ladder, here's the next one, the Platinum MasterCard. Now, again, this is for fair credit. So if you have at least a 580 credit score. Now, here's the interesting thing about this. They have a Savior's card. And I've seen people with like a 560 credit score get a $3,000 limit on the Savior's card. But this is the Platinum MasterCard. The good thing about it is no annual fee on this, okay? And you can do a pre-approval on it. So that's cool about it. Now, some other data points you have to understand. Whenever you applying for like a Capital One card, their algorithm is looking for something like the aging of your credit file, how many open revolving accounts you have on the credit file, how much is your income DTI, your debt to income ratio. That also plays a factor, okay? So you need to consider those factors when applying for these cards, but there is a hack to get a credit limit increase that we're going to talk about, all right? Now, the next one, say that you have a 580 credit score and you're trying to start your own business. Well, this is where you go for the Spark Classic card, okay? And so with the Spark Classic card, all you need is a 580 credit score. Now, here's another thing that many people are not aware about Capital One. Say that you had a Capital One card and you defaulted on the card. If it's over 1 year old, Capital One will open you up a new card, although you may have an outstanding balance with them on another card. That's right. Many people are not even aware of this. They think, well, I'm just one and done. No. And I tell you another thing, talking about this Capital One Spark Classic card, say that you had a personal card that went bad. That still does not disqualify you for this Capital One Spark Classic card. Now, why this here card is probably one of the better cards, granted, it's a business credit card. Now, it reports on both the business and personal. But what's so great about this is because it reports to the business credit bureau. So this card reports to Experian Business, Equifax Business, Small Business Financial Exchange, and that information is shared with Dun & Bradstreet. So that's the reason you want to consider getting this card, even as a startup. If you have a 580 credit score, you should be trying to get this here card, okay? As a startup with bad credit, this is probably one of your major cards you should be going after, okay? That's the reason that a lot of people, they're like, well, how do I start with business credit and stuff like that? You want to start with business credit? Start with this here card. This is going to be one of the best cards to start with. I would say I would choose this over net 30s. Now, I'll tell you another thing that keeps people from getting business credit. Here's the situation. Most people, when they start up their business, what they're doing, they have a high-risk NAICS code they're more likely not aware of. Number two is that they're starting with a community bank or credit union like Navy Federal. Now, here's the challenge with those financial institutions. They're only building up your business bank rating with that financial institution. It's not building up your business bank rating with your main business credit bureaus, so that when you apply for other business credit funding, business credit cards and stuff like that. So that's the reason I tell you, you need to incorporate a major bank like Capital One. Again, because it reports to the major business credit bureaus. I'm telling you guys, these financial institutions like Capital One, Citibank, Chase Bank, those are my top three because they report to more business credit bureaus. Now, American Express, US Bank, Wells Fargo, those are good banks, PNC and Truist. They all report to Small Business Financial Exchange, and that information is shared with Dun and Bradstreet, because I know a lot of people are worried about, well, what about my Dun and Bradstreet? You know, what about my Paydex score? What about my net 30s and stuff like that? Trust me, guys, making your weekly or daily deposits with those financial institutions help build up your business credit and business bank rating much faster. Adding to that, like adding on NAV so that you can actually manage your business credit, okay? And there's one other key element to this as well, in terms of if you're a startup, is having Paystubs. Having Paystubs, because a lot of credit card companies now, they're going to start requesting. If you don't have real high credit, then they're going to start wanting to see more Paystubs, okay? So you have to be very careful with that, in which I'll be making a separate video of how to make Paystubs just using your credit card, okay? I did make a video about it, which I'll probably put a link in the description, but I'm going to make a more detailed video so that you can actually understand how to do it. That being said, going back to Capital One credit cards, the next credit card is the Venture, right? The Venture One. The reason this credit card, again, is because with the Venture One, this type of credit card usually starts you out about a $5,000, okay? Usually, not 100% of the time, but usually this is your chance to get, like, if you want a credit card that's starting out about $5,000, they have the reputation of giving you starting at $5,000, okay? So that's the reason that this credit card, and again, like I said, here's another here's another secret to getting $5,000 credit cards. Most lenders and creditors, what they do, if your income is not above $50,000, that's an indication to them as well. So not only your DTI and the length of your credit file and stuff, but the income, your income. That's the reason I tell you guys, if you have a spouse in the household, you need to include your spouse's income. If you're receiving child support, alimony, if you're disabled and you're renting out a room and stuff, that's income you actually need to put on your credit file. If you don't, I'm telling you, you're making a very big mistake, because what it's going to do, you're putting yourself at a higher chance of getting a low limit. Okay, so the more income you report, that is factual income, in case they do a 4506T and want to pull taxes, or they want to see pay stubs or something more accurate, then this is where you want to start at. Okay, now this is one of the good credit cards that a lot of people like. Like I said, a lot of people, they focus on the rewards and stuff like that. I'm focusing on the limits. That's what I'm trying to do, is build up the limits. Now, here's another credit card with Capital One. This is the Capital One Venture. Now, this is one of their most prestige. You do have to have excellent credit. So you do have to be at least in the 740 range. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that a 720 credit score won't get you this card, but to be on the safe side, being of 740 range. Now, here's another thing about it. It's good because you can actually do a pre-approval to see if you're pre-approved for it, all right? So like I said, here it is, where they're saying excellent credit. One of the things about it that I'm always looking for when I'm looking at credit cards and stuff is in terms of zero balance type of cards, all right? That's my thing. So if a bank has a 0% interest rate, like here, this is why this is a good card. Now look at these here. You have the silver, the Quicksilver, the Venture One, and the Saviors card, right? Now, this is why. Balance transfers and purchases, 0% APR 15 months. Okay, that's what you're looking for. That's your money. That means that you're doing dollar for dollar. Okay, so if you spend $1,000 on your credit card, you're paying back $1,000 without the interest free on it. Okay, so this is why these type of cards is much better. So when you're going, again, as you can see here, it's saying credit level excellent, but again, these are the type of cards you actually want to get. Ones that you have a long period of time of not having to pay any interest on. So 15 months is definitely a long time. So those are the type of cards you really want, especially if you have, like I said, a 720, 740 credit score, then these are the type of cards, okay? Just keep in mind that your income, the history of the credit file, those also play a factor in this as well, okay? Now, if you have any other questions about business credit funding, personal credit funding, click the link in the description. Schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.